And I'm bring up a photo of the house that we're designing here. So eventually we're going to add a second story. In anticipation for doing that, as we get to that point, I'm going to go ahead and add the beam structure in to support this wall as it's inset here off of the main floor. So to do that, close that down, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to draw a support beam that would support that wall. I'm going to use my framing tool to draw a couple of beams in our kitchen. And again, this is in anticipation when we build our second floor. We need a support mechanism to bear that wall that is inset on the second floor from the first. So I'll close down my 3D view and I'm going to use one of my manual framing tools to create a couple of beams. I'm going to select the framing tool here, and then we're just going to drag a beam across here, and I'm not going to worry too much about the exact location. If we open up this beam, you can see the dimensions, you can specify what sort of a framing member it is, and I'm going to just leave it as a 12 inches by 3.5. And I'm going to have this bear exactly over the top of this bathroom wall. And now I'm going to copy using my copy tool, and I'm going to copy that. Let's just pull that out. And as I'm pulling that over, I'm going to press the tab key here. And when you press the tab key, you can specify an exact dimension. So in this case, I'm going to move it over 4 foot and 3.5 inches because I know that I'm going to put a fireplace over here to support the rest of that beam. Select OK. So we now have our two beams. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use one more beam, and I'm going to come across here and drag another beam. And this is not structural, more decorative. So let's go ahead and select this beam, open it up. And I'm going to lower the dimension here from 12 inches to 6 inches. And I'm also going to lower the height of this, and I want that to set about at the bottom of that beam. And we'll select OK. And now what I want to do with that beam is I want to copy that in some increment all the way down to the bottom here. And let's go ahead. It looks like I didn't snap these two beams to the end of this wall, which we're going to want a beam pocket in with our detail. So if I scroll back in here, let me zoom out so I can get the entire run of that in. I'm going to select that beam that we just drew. Let's make sure that I have it exactly snapped into place. Snap that to the edge. Once I have that snapped, I'm going to use my multiple copy tool. And I'm going to set that to be 18 inches as I copy that. And now I can just drag that all the way down. Now before we take our 3D view, let's take a look at the impact of our island. We may want to pull that back a couple of inches. So let's go ahead and we'll just set that to be 4'3". Pull that back in there a little bit. And we can kind of see where our electrical lights, if they're going to go through those beams okay. It looks okay. We can always make adjustments a little bit later. And let's go ahead and take our 3D view. I'm going to again use our overhead camera. And let's turn on our layer for the ceiling framing so we can actually see it. So here it is. And if you want to match the colors, we can grab the color eyedropper, pull that in, and we can paint these elements. Let's go ahead and paint all of them. And maybe what we want to do is we want to take and apply a darker color to this outside beam. So what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and let's find a darker color here. Open up the library and let's just find a darker brown. So I'm going to open up Bear Paint. And we'll pick one of these colors, and I'm going to change it just so it applies that to one of the beams. And we'll apply it to both sides. I may want to pull that out just a little bit so that we don't see that in our wall above the bathroom. So let's go ahead and pull that over here just a little bit. Set that to be 6 foot 1 inch. Let's see if we can slide that out a little bit and see if that solves our issue there. So now we can see that beam coming through, and that's how we did our custom ceiling, and we'll also use that as a bearing point when we design the second floor. As we progress along, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward and put the remaining doors and windows in. Next, I'm going to build the foundation, the roof, and the framing. So let's go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to pause here for just a second, and I'll fast forward to having the windows put in, and then we'll move forward. I've gone ahead and added the doors and windows in here to speed things along. I also applied a carpeting material in the area that will be the bedroom and then also the closet.